Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your presenter for round about half an hour this morning. Quite a quick session, this one. It's one of these options. People love the inactive records option. It was originally introduced and then extended into other areas of Sage 50 just because of the feedback we got. So hopefully, if you've never used it before, you'll find it beneficial. As I say, hopefully you can stick around for the half hour that we should be running this session for. Now, before we get stuck into the demonstration this morning, I'll quickly run you through a little bit of housekeeping just in case anyone is new to the webinars. So first of all, if you have a microphone, which you never need for these webinars, but if you have one and you've enabled it, you'll just find it's muted automatically. So you can't unmute yourself, you can't talk to us today. Any questions, you just need to pop them in the questions panel. So comments, questions, anything you're not sure about, pop it in there. I'll try and pick those up as we're running through. It is just myself running the session this morning with you, so no support in the background. We're not expecting to have too many on the session today, so do bear with me. To submit your questions, you just click the little speech bubble icon. When you do that, it'll expand the panel. You'll get access to that box in the bottom where you can start typing. Remember to click send, otherwise I don't see those. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, they're available to download via the handout option. As normal, the session is going to be recorded. The link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. You'll receive that round about an hour after we finish. So it should be around about 12:30 you get that email today. That email will also include links to our upcoming webinars, loads of sessions. Our next digital badge series starts next week, looking at data management. So helping you to look after your data via backups, company archives, monitoring your data levels within the software, that type of thing. So do check out that link when you receive that and get yourself registered if you are interested. Those sessions will be recorded in September, just in case. I'm sure many of you are about to jet off to many parts of the world, somewhere even hotter than where it is at the moment, where you are at the moment. So good chance to achieve that badge if you are interested. There'll be a link to our recordings page as well if you can't make the live sessions. So it's a good way to use the webinar service. Right, this is what we're going to be covering over the next half hour. So quick introduction, I'll run through some demonstrations, explain a little bit about the criteria. So we'll concentrate on the customer side of things, but obviously I'll show you where you can get more information about the other areas as well. I'll explain how to reactivate a record. So if you do flag it as being inactive and you want to use it again in the future, how can you reactivate that? Really simple. And again, I just want to touch on alternatives. So this is a really good alternative to deleting records as well. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. And then just at the end, I'll explain more about the additional support. And if there are any outstanding questions, I'll hang around and pick those up as well. But keep them coming. I'll try and engage with that just as we're going through. So let's start with a little bit of background. So the idea of inactive records, and it is a really simple feature, this one. It helps you to keep your accounts tidy and your lists. So like things like your customers, it helps you keep that list a bit more manageable. So you're probably going to look at your customer list just as an example and think, well, actually, at least half of those I don't use on a regular basis. Probably a decent percentage will be one-offs. Maybe customers that don't exist anymore, they've gone bust. You don't want to get rid of them, or maybe you're not in a position where you can get rid of them because they've got activity against them. So you can flag your records, and you can do them individually, or you can use the batch change option to flag records simultaneously. So really can be really quick to do it as well. Now, it's worth noting that the batch change option isn't available if you're on the essentials level. So you would need to do the records individually, but it's really quick to do, as you'll see in the demo. Now, once you've got your records flagged as being inactive, you've got a little checkbox, and you'll see this in the demonstration. Little checkbox at the top of the various ledgers where this option is available, which enables you to show or hide those inactive records. So some occasions you might want to see those records, but probably on a day-to-day basis, when you're just processing your standard sort of day-to-day transactions, you probably wouldn't want to see them. You don't want to have to be endlessly scrolling up and past accounts that you just don't use anymore. So easy to hide them, but if you do need them, they're there in the background, you can show them again. Now, this option was originally available for customers and suppliers and for your product records. And because of the sort of feedback we got, we extended that to nominal codes and also bank accounts. So we'll be having a look at that in today's session. Now, I've included things like the odd link here and there for inactive records. So if you downloaded the slides, your buttons, etc., should work at the bottom of those slides, take you to the relevant articles, but they are really easy to find that information. So if you want the sort of detailed steps, I'll be talking about the criteria shortly as well. Then obviously we've included links to that as well. So why are you going to flag records as being inactive in the first place? So one, you do it where records can't be deleted. So let's say you've got a customer who, let's say they've gone bust for whatever reason. You think, well, obviously they're not going to buy anything from me in the future. I don't need that record anymore. I'd like to delete it. Maybe you're not in a position to be able to do that. To be able to delete a customer, for example, it's got to have zero activity. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to clear the audit trail. It doesn't just clear your audit trail and your transactions from that one record though. It'll do it across the board. All your customers, suppliers, it'll do it against bank records, etc. as well. You can enter a date for that process, but it'll do it across the board. So you might not be in a position where you're able to do that. You might not want to do that, but the customer has a zero balance. You want to hide it. Now, historically, what you would have done, this was before inactive records came along, is you would have renamed the customer account to something like do not use or inactive record. You put that in the title of the customer name, and then you would apply, at the time, you would have applied a search, what's now termed a filter, just to hide them from the list. But with inactive records, it makes it really simple. But please bear in mind, records must meet specific criteria to be able to be flagged as inactive. And we'll go through that for customers in just a few minutes' time. Anyway, let's get stuck into some demonstrations just so you can see what this looks like when it's working. So I'll switch across to my screen. Today I'm using the professional level of Sage 50 accounts. Now, for what I'm actually covering today, it's pretty much the same on all levels. The one difference being batch changes, which you don't have on the essentials level of the software. Right, so let's start with customers. Now, in customers, you can see I've got some accounts with a zero balance. Now, they might be an active customer. So actually, just what happens, they've got nothing, no outstanding balance on their account at this point in time. So I'll leave them. But let's say this one here, this Bronson Incorporated account. Let's say I want to hide that account. They haven't bought anything from me for quite some time. I know it's unlikely that they're going to come back to me. And I just think, well, actually, why have it listed? So all I do is I pop into the record. And in the record, I've got this little checkbox. Tick it to see I want to flag it as being inactive. Now you'll find in the various records where this option is available, it's always sort of towards this upper left-hand corner. Moves around a little bit depending which record type you're looking at, but generally it'll be in that top upper left corner. So I tick the box, I click save. You might have saw something pop up on my screen there. It'll quickly check the status for the account to make sure it meets the criteria to be able to be flagged. And if it does, I'm just left with a blank record. That's it. So what we now see on the list here is in this inactive column, we've got a Y in that one, indicating it's inactive. The rest of the records, they're just blank. So it'd just be a case of repeating that for any records that you do want to flag as being inactive. As you can see, it's really quick to do that. Literally, it's that simple. Now, if you've got multiple records, so rather than go through them one at a time, this is where you don't have this option on the essentials level. You don't have the batch changes option, but if you do, if you run standard or professional or client manager for that matter, if you're an accountant, what I can do is I can highlight the various records that I want to flag as being inactive. So I'll say it's those ones, they all have a 0 balance. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go for mine at the top. I've got what we term a grouped icon. You might have enough space on your toolbar along the top. So you might have these options listed separately on your toolbar. It just depends on your resolution, size of your monitor, that type of thing. But on mine, quite small to make things that little bit bigger so you can see them a little bit clearer when I run the webinar. But I've got this batch changes option. If you've never used batch changes before, you'll look at this and think, oh, what else could I use that for? It's available where, if you run standard or professional, available just about throughout the software. So we're going to click batch changes. And what that's going to do is give me a blank record. So a blank customer record in this case. Now, some of the options will be grayed out, means I can't make a batch change to that specific field. But the ones that are active, it means I can make changes. So things like, if those customers that I just selected, for instance, let's say I was reviewing those and I thought, actually, I wanted their credit limit to be a certain amount. I can go into the credit control tab and I can enter that, save it. It'll apply that to all of those records. But in this case, I just want to flag them as being inactive. So I'll tick that box. I'm going to click save. When we do that, we get the normal message. You've chosen to make changes to multiple records. Do you want to save the changes? So yes, I do. So it'll validate those changes. Now in this instance, it's come back and it said, not all of the accounts could be set as being inactive. Only accounts that meet the criteria have been set as inactive. Now it gives me a little link here, more information. If I click that, it'll essentially launch the, just accept that message, it'll launch the sort of the help center article. So I'll just come in and I can sort of, there'll be links on here where I can view criteria. I'm going to come back to the criteria though. So I'll just close that for now. So got that message telling me not all of them could be set as being inactive, but the ones that meet the criteria have been. So I just OK that. And you can see of the ones that I've got highlighted in green here, other than this one here, they've all been flagged with a Y. So as you can see, really easy to flag them. Now, let's say on a day-to-day basis, I don't want to see those records. They're inactive. So little checkbox at the top, include inactive. If I take the tick out of that, you'll see they disappear. They're hidden. So they're hidden in the background. If I want to see them, I just tick the checkbox at the back, but they're still flagged as being inactive. So it's a really good option. Think about if you're running reports, you might want a current customer list. So I'll just hide the ones that are flagged as being inactive. The rest of them, these are my active customers. Now, if I highlight a one that's got a balance against it, and I go into that record, click to flag it as being inactive, click save, comes back, tells me this customer could not be placed as inactive. And it tells me, in this case, it's option 1, the account balance is not 0. So again, it comes back to that criteria. It will only let you flag certain records that meet the criteria to be flagged. And obviously the balance is one of them. So I'll close out of that one and it doesn't let me flag it. Now the inactive column itself, obviously it's empty at this stage. If I don't want to see that, as normal, I can right click any of my column headings, doesn't matter which one, and it will give me a list of the columns that I can actually show or hide. So if you've never come across that one, might be a little bit of an eye opener for you. So inactive column is switched on by default, but if I don't want to see that on my list, I can just switch it off. and that column disappears. Still works in the same way, so I can still show or hide, but I now can't immediately see which ones are actually being flagged as being inactive. If I want that column back, just right click and I would switch it back on. So you can't rearrange the columns, you can change the width, but you can't rearrange the order of the columns. So if you've never seen that before, there may be other columns that you want to show or hide. So if you tend not to ring out, you might not want telephone numbers and things like that displayed these days. You might want an email address displayed. So you can do that. Just a case of switching them on and off. But in a nutshell, that's inactive records, how you go about using that. Now, we've looked at how to show or hide it. Do be careful if you're flagging certain records. So for instance, let's say we're into July. So let's say my financial year was still set to January 24 to December 24. And I'm thinking, right, I'm ready to run my year end. But actually, before I do that, I want my management reports. So things like an age debtors report. Now, if I've got a certain account hidden because it's got a zero balance now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it had a zero balance at the time. So let's say at the end of December, it might have had a balance. Subsequently, it's been paid off. I've now flagged it as being inactive, so it's hidden from my list. So when you're running reports like that, I would always say, right, switch that back on to include your inactive records, then run your reports. It may have had a balance at the time. Something to be aware of, that one. To reactivate a record, you've got a number of options. So this Bronson Incorporated, the first one we flagged, can we use that one? Well, we've got two options to reactivate it. One is to go back into the record and just take the tick out, save it, and that's it done. That inactive flag is gone. County Golf Supplies as a second example. Let's say I'm busy entering a transaction for that one. Now that could be anything, but let's just see what's a batch invoice as an example. If I go to the drop down, you'll see that we've got the inactive column, so it does include them still on the list at that point. We just close out of that for a moment and I take the tick out of that, so that CGS, that's County Golf Supplies, is no longer listed. If I go to do a batch invoice, click on the drop down, you'll see that, hopefully you can see that CGS, that County Golf Supplies, it's not listed. It's hidden, and the inactive column is hidden as well, because I've chosen on the main list not to display that information. Now, if I know what that is, so I just type CGS 001, or maybe I've got them listed and I've selected that one from the list. As I move out of that field, I'll get this confirmation window pop up, this message. So it just tells me the customer selected has been set as inactive. To continue, you must reactivate the customer. Do you want to reactivate this customer and continue? So if I just click yes to that, it loads the information and it lets me continue to enter that transaction. And that would work in other areas as well. So if you're working within sales order processing, quotations, invoices and credits, if you're within the bank and you want to enter, let's say you need to enter a deposit from this customer, then again, as a customer receipt or a payment on account, again, it would give you that opportunity to reactivate the account at that point. Now, all that's done by reactivating the account. If I just discard that for now, close out, you'll see that County Golf Supplies is back on my list now, and it's no longer flagged as being inactive. Now, similarly, as I flagged records in a batch, what I could do is I could highlight a few records, go to batch changes, and although it's blank at the moment, what you need to do if you want to do something like that and wipe out a field is you need to sort of put something in it and then take it back out, so it recognizes a change at that point. And then when I save it, yes to that prompt, and you can see it's now removed the flag from that. So that batch changes. If you are on the standard edition or the professional edition or client manager, then it can save you a good little bit of time here and there. So we've looked at customers only at this stage. You've got the same options for suppliers. Again, you've got the inactive column, the little checkbox at the top, include inactive. And if I go into a supplier record, again, it's pretty much the same as suppliers. You've got that little checkbox at the top. So essentially it works in exactly the same way as it does for customers. If we pop into next, we'll quickly choose products and services. So again, I will just highlight the records that I'm interested in. If I edit them, actually, no, I'm not going to edit them. Actually, I will, sorry. I'll quickly edit that. And here we've got, as I mentioned, generally always towards the upper left, being the details sort of section, you've got that inactive checkbox. And again, it would just be a case of ticking it, saving the record. If it meets the criteria, it'll flag it. If it doesn't, it'll give you a message. And again, in here, you've got the batch changes option. Again, if you don't quite have enough space at the top, if I just shrink that down a little bit, you'll see that batch changes no longer appears as a separate option, and instead I've got to click on the grouped icon. Batch changes is there. But pretty much works in the same way. Click it, tick the box, save it, yes to that prompt about making changes to multiple records. Tells me not all of them could be set. I'll just OK that. Actually, it's just done the one in this instance. Again, you could have clicked the link to view the criteria, but that's now inactive. So if you go through things like seasonal products, then it's a good way of when that season comes to an end and that stock is, the quantity in stock is back to zero of your record stock levels, then nice easy way of just flagging them if you're not in a position just yet to get rid of them. So we can flag them as being inactive, hide them from your list. So maximize that again. Other areas, nominal codes, you've probably got loads. If you use the default list, there's probably loads on that list that you'll never use. It is just try a very generic list of nominal codes. There'll probably be ones that you've added yourself in the past. Again, it might have been for you needed that nominal code 4 or 5 years ago, but actually you don't need it now. It's got a zero balance. Potentially you can hide it from your list. And it means that, you know, if you're new, or even like myself, if I'm looking for a nominal code, I've been working on CH50 now for nearly 30 years, and I still don't know them all. I know roughly where they are, but you know, there'll be certain ones I just, oh yeah, there's definitely a one for that, but I can't remember what it is. And it saves you scrolling up and down that list and having loads of redundant records in that list. So where you're not in a position to delete them, flag them as being inactive. So it works pretty much the same way. Into the record, flag it as being inactive, save it. If it meets that criteria, you can see it's flagged it there. And again, if I don't want to see that one at the top here, I can just take the tick out and it hides it from that list. Final one I wanted to mention, and this is something I'll cover in a moment. I'm going to come back to bank accounts. For now, I just want to quickly go back to the slides, and I want to touch on criteria. So it does differ depending what you're looking at. So remember, inactive records, you can apply that to customers, suppliers, products and services, nominal codes and bank accounts. So they all have obviously slightly different criteria. So for customers, this is the criteria that a customer record must meet when you try to flag it as being inactive. The obvious one, the account balance must be zero. If there's a balance on there, it will not let you flag it. All transactions must be allocated. So let's say you've got an invoice, you might have a credit note. If they're not matched together, so they're not allocated, those transactions individually will appear as being outstanding. So again, if there's anything outstanding or unallocated, it will not let you flag it. So it might be, to be able to flag it as being inactive, there might be a little bit of tidying up to do within certain records. Getting on to the more unusual stuff. So for a customer, it must have no recurring items, or the customer record itself must not be related to a recurring item within the bank accounts area. Within invoices and credits, again, must be no recurring item. Doesn't matter about existing invoices on your list or on about recurring invoices or credits. And also no recurring sales orders. Again, doesn't matter about older sales orders, they're fine. Even if they've got that customer on them, we're talking about a recurring sales order. The very unusual stuff, your customer must not be flagged as the default customer if anyone uses a PO, which used to be known as Sage Pay many years ago. And also a very unusual one. If you're on version 28 or below, your software could be in what's termed recording mode. So if you ever used the accountant link and didn't quite finish that process, you might find you're in recording mode. I would suspect that nobody has ever come across that one. It is part of the criteria and would still prevent you, but I would assume no one will ever come across that one, because it was that option, the accountant link option, was removed in version 29 because no one ever used it. It's a great little feature in its own right, but nobody really used it in conjunction with their accountant, so the option has been removed. So very unlikely that you would be in recording mode. But just in case anyone is, it would tell you on your tool or your status bar along the bottom of Sage 50 accounts. But anyway, if you do come across that message where it says can't flag this record, it will give you a link and it will bring up that Help Center article, so you can get out that information really easily. Now, the other one I wanted to mention was coming back to bank accounts. This is a common query, this one. I'm trying to flag a bank account as being inactive and I get this message. It just says, can't be placed as inactive because it's a ratio account. So I'm going to quickly show you this one. I'll quickly go back to my screen. We'll pop into the bank accounts area. Obviously, a bank account, it must have a zero balance to be able to be flagged as being inactive. So I've got this one here, one I prepared earlier. Doesn't matter whether it's got history on it, but it's got to have a zero balance. Now, when I try to flag this record as being inactive, so tick the box, save it. This is when I get that message that was on my slide a moment ago. So it's telling me it's a ratio account. Now, the fact that you don't use this account and want to flag it as being inactive, it means you just need to quickly remove it from the ratio area. So to do that, we just go into nominal codes. On your toolbar at the top, you've got essentially the quick ratio option. Those that have done a little bit of training in accounting probably be aware of that type of thing. So if you haven't, maybe worth looking it up. And all I need to do is find the relevant record. So 1210 in this case, just click on that line. I just press F8, or I can click delete at the top. So F8 will delete the line that I've got highlighted. Are you sure? Yes. So 1210 is no longer on that list. I'll save it. Go back into bank accounts. Nothing's changed yet, but if I go back into the bank record, tick the box to say I want to flag it as being inactive. Save it. And this time it lets me. So it disappears from that list. If I want that back, just tick the box to say I want to include inactive records in my list. And there it is. So it's flagged as being inactive. Again, you've got that inactive column. If I wanted to hide that, just right click any of the column headings, find it on the list. Obviously, it'll show you the list of columns that you can show or hide. And if I wanted to remove or hide the inactive column itself, That's it done. And then if I just take the tick out, it'll hide that 1210 account as well. Right, now if you do want to find out more, if you want that sort of the more detailed information, if I just pop back to the slides, if you've downloaded the slides, these links should work for you. Obviously that third one, it will link off to the article that's got all the criteria on if you're interested in that one and you want to get at that information. Remember the link is provided on the message for you. Right, if you've got any final questions, Wendy, I'll pick yours up in just a moment. So any final questions, quickly pop them in there. But it does bring us towards the end of today's session. So that's the end of the plan demo. Hopefully you found that useful. If anyone wants a copy of those slides, remember to take that opportunity to download them while you're on the session. For our upcoming webinars, we've got loads of sessions available. You can just head along to sage.co.uk/webinars. You can get yourself booked onto the Sage 50 Accounts live sessions. You can access the recordings. We've got similar options for Sage 50 Payroll. And also, if anyone is on Sage Accounting or Sage Payroll, the business cloud editions of our software, then those links are available as well. Just to remind you, we've got a couple of digital badges coming up over the next few months. So data management will start next week. If you're interested, get yourself onto the registration page, get yourself registered for the relevant sessions. So we're starting those in August, repeating them in September. And report designer, we're reintroducing those sessions as well, starting those in September, repeating them in October. If you're interested in earning your digital badges, get yourself signed up. Plenty of time to do that though. You can even do it on the day if you want to. It's not a problem. So if you want to find out more about those areas, report designer, if you've always looked at your sort of your invoice layouts, your reports and thought, if only, or a bit scared when you open maybe a layout or a report within the report designer, then maybe those are the sessions for you. They're very introductory level, not too in depth. So we'll introduce you to key aspects of that report designer. Have proved very popular when we've run them in the past. Now, before I open up to questions, just let me quickly thank you for attending. I can see some people leaving already. As you leave, there will be a little survey pop up. If you can take that minute to complete that, share your thoughts, what you thought of the webinar, any ideas that you think we could do to improve the webinars or topics you'd like to see covered, let us know. Take that minute, submit your feedback. The follow-up email containing the link to today's recording, the link to the registration page, and also the link to our recordings page, that will be with you in round about an hour's time. Right, I've got one quick question outstanding, so we'll quickly pick that one up. Came from Wendy. Wendy was just quickly run through that one again. So it was to do with the ratio. So what we did was we went into obviously make a note of your bank account number. So it was 1210 in my case. We went into nominal codes, and then at the top, you've got the ratio option. If you can't see that, it's either going to be down to access rights, so to do with your logon name, or it could also be that it's hidden as well. I'll come back to that one in a second. But if it's there, you just give it a click, find the relevant number on the list. Obviously, I've removed mine now. So you would just click on the relevant line and then either press delete on you at the top there, or you can press F8 on your keyboard, your function key, and that will remove that line as well. Make sure you don't hold that down. That might remove a few lines. But other than that, you save your changes, that's it done. Just coming back to maybe options that are possibly hidden at the top. So if you're in a ledger and you think, well, I never use that option. So we've been talking about inactive records so far, but what about inactive options along the top? So you might think, well, actually, I never come in here and print the list. Hide it. So just right click anywhere on your toolbar at the top. It'll give you a list of the options. So print list, don't use that. Switch it off, hide it. Maybe I don't use that prior year. Right click, find it on your list. Prior year, there it is. Hide it, switch it off. Same for customers. There's loads of options in customers. So do you work with Go Cardless? Do you use the direct debit option? Right click, find the relevant options, request direct debit payment, right, I'll switch that one off. Request mandate, right click, find it on the list, switch it off. Declutter your toolbar so you only see the options that you use. If you need those options back, right click, switch them back on, or click at the bottom, use defaults. It'll reset your list for you. Mohammed, you mentioned you're getting in an error message when you flag a bank record as being inactive. Can you let me know what that is? I'll hang around. Just if you can try it, let me know the wording of that message. Unfortunately, you can't post pictures into the questions panel, but let me know what that is. I'll try and right, Mohammed. This is just what we've been talking about. This specific message. So, what you need to do to flag a bank account as being inactive. Make a note of the number, so it was like 1210. You then go into nominal codes, into the ratio option at the top. You find that relevant number, so it was 1210. I removed mine earlier, so click onto the line. So when I clicked on 1210 in the demo earlier, you would just highlight the relevant line and then you would click delete at the top, or press F8 to remove it from that list. You then save your changes, and then when you go back to bank accounts, you'll then be able to flag that record as being inactive. And then obviously once it's inactive, you can choose to show or hide them. So you'll get that for every bank record, because every bank record is by default flagged in that ratios list. So do that and that will resolve your problem. So just again, third time, remember those steps. Into nominal codes, ratio option along the top, find the relevant bank account that's causing the discrepancy, click onto the line, delete, or F8 to remove that line, save your changes, and then you'll be able to flag it as being inactive, assuming it meets the other criteria for bank records as well. Hope that makes sense. Right, so that just about answers all the questions. I don't think we got anything outstanding. So we'll end the webinar just at that point. Many thanks for coming along. Do take that minute to complete the survey as you leave, and hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars. Final question from Wendy there: why are bank accounts flagged as ratios? Ratio account, if you do a little bit of I suppose if you do basic accounts training, the ratio itself, the ratio sort of, you'll hear things like the asset test accountant test, things like that. It's all to do with accounts that in theory can be quickly converted to cash. So that's what the ratio is for. So all of your bank records by default are included in there. I don't think there's any good information about what a ratio test is though in our help center. So have a just do a quick search, asset test or something like that on Google, and you'll find loads of information relating to that. Right, so we'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks for coming along. Take that minute to complete the survey. Get yourself registered for those other sessions, particularly the badge sessions that are coming up, and hopefully we'll see you on some of those soon. Many thanks.